Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to our live talk about feeding ingredients for a successful and sustainable milk production. And for a little warm up, we prepared a video for you that will start right now.
What goes for human beings also goes for dairy cows. A healthy and individually tailored diet is one of the most important requirements for high performance and well-being. And this is especially true for our high performance cows. The latest research results prove it in black and white. In order for cows to feel well, to be fit and vital, the feed should be prepared as freshly as possible, it should be given several times a day, and it should be composed as individually as possible. The fact that an efficient feeding strategy and a successful feeding is not only good for cows, but is generally the most important factor for the profitability of a dairy farm, this can not only be seen in improved herd performance, but this is directly connected to sustainable feed implementation, savings in feed costs, as well as in an improved reproduction. And for that topic, I do now have my feeding expert, Dr. Walter Weimann, on my side.
And how you can reach these aims, we will show and discuss with you during this Facebook Live.
Yes, and it's us again. And with this introduction, I again would like to welcome you to our GEA Live Facebook event. Today, Walter and me, we want to introduce you to different feeding ingredients, and we will show you the influence of good ingredients on our high performance cows. So just some sentence to myself. My name is Lilian Schmalstre, and I'm responsible for the trade press at GEA Farm Technologies division. And today I have the pleasure to host this live event instead of my colleague Kenneth Arnswood, who kindly sends his apologies for today. So Kenneth, best regards from the whole GEA team at this point, and we hope to see you again soon. So by my side, and as we've seen in the video, today is my esteemed colleague, Dr. Walter Weimann. But Walter, you're not only our feeding specialist at GEA, right?
Yes, that's right. So I work now since 6.5 years in the company, and I work in the department of herd management, and my main thing is Dairy Pro-Q, so the automatic rotary. But from my background, from the years before where I worked, I have experience in feeding. So I also try to help our automatic feeding system team.
Yeah, that's great. And we are very pleased that you share your experience today with us. So, but now before we put the food into the troughs, just a quick thing about this live. This event will last around 30 minutes. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them down in the comments section below, and we will answer them at the end of this live. But if we can't answer all your questions due to timings, our GEA colleagues will get back to you after the event. So Walter, now let's put the food into the troughs. As heard in the introductory film, a high quality feed is one of the most important factors, not only for satisfied, but also for healthy and for high yielding cows. But could you tell us, please, where does good quality start?
Yeah, Lilian, good starting point. For me, good feeding quality does start already at that point where the farmer is looking for which seed does he use for his corn silage, for example, or for grass, or for alfalfa, for example. So this starts already when the farmer wants to seed his corn. So it depends on which area he is, how much water is during the time where the corn is growing, what else is around for his circumstances, and how cold it is or how warm does it be. So these points are also important, and most of the farmers do have consultants with whom they share their experience, and they look what is best for my area, for my farm, what can I use for this, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've prepared also some images for you where you can see, and Walter, maybe you would like to explain some or tell us some words about the pictures we see here.
We see corn seed here. In breeding in corn seed during the last, let's say, 25 years, there is so much progress, so that in the past, farmers, let's say, with areas where they could not produce corn silage, for example, now it's able, because the progress in breeding for these things is so important and made so much progress during the years. But not only corn silage, so grass silage is very important. So yeah, this is also one thing where we should work on, and where the farms should pay attention, because in many farms, grass silage is the main forage they use for their cows, for example. And then we see here on the up right, if you go with the cursor a little bit up, you see me in front of a machine for resawing grass and leveling, for example, molehills. So let's say a green seeder, for example. So during the last years, the farms make more and more attention to their pasture, for example. And because of that, it is possible to get better silage, to get more milk out of your forage, for example.
Okay, thanks. And here on the third image, we see also support for the farmer during harvesting, right? Could you say please something about that?
Yeah, we see a dosing device for silage additives, for example. So a lot of farms use these additives to get better silage, to get the silage all over the year in a good quality. And this is possible also with a harvester, with a shopper, or like here on the picture seen on a special wagon. We call it in German loading wagon. I don't know the right English word for it, sorry.
Maybe somebody in the chat may know and can tell us during
that would be interesting. Yes.
Yeah, but as far as I see, we do have many viewers from all around the world. So yes, again, a very warm welcome and thanks for your greetings. It's very nice to see that you're watching us. We really enjoy that and your greetings. So Walter, now we go more into detail. Let's do a menu plan and talk about the main feeding components. And therefore, we have already prepared a new video for you, which starts right now.
Good cooking show. We've already prepared something for you. Walter, what do you bring for us? What is on the menu for the ladies today?
So today is grass silage on the menu. But if you think grass silage is grass silage, sorry, that's not right. So we have different ways how to harvest the grass silage. So at first we have a sample with a bale machine, long fiber, not cut, and in this way, not so easy to handle with a feeding wagon. On the other hand, we have harvested with a loading wagon, with a system. So the fiber is much shorter than the other one, and you can mix it very easy. But the best way, I would say, how to present grass silage for a meal for cows is to harvest it with a harvester. So you have really short cut and it's easy to handle in a mixing system.
Yeah, that's so far about grass silage and alfalfa, which is also known as Lucerne in European countries. So Walter, but I know you and I know you would like to add some more about that grass silage. And here we can also see a very nice picture of yourself and maybe you would like to explain.
Yeah, people could think I'm hungry and I start eating the grass silage of the cows. No, that's not the reason why I do it. If you have experience, you can, if you smell on the grass silage, for example, or if you have it in your hand, you can feel, is there a lot sugar in, or what is the quality? You can smell it, and that's very important. If you smell something what is not good for you, it's also not good for the cows. So we do not talk today about how much protein should be in your grass silage, or how much starch should be in your corn silage, for example. We want to talk about these things. Okay, what ingredients do we have, and what is necessary if you want to mix a good ration for your cows. Alfalfa, we in Germany, alfalfa gets more and more popular, also maybe because of changing the weather conditions. But we use alfalfa here in some farms. They tried it to harvest it, and so they make silage. Or later we will see alfalfa as hay, for example. But I know all over the world where I've been, equal if it is US or if it is Russia or somewhere else, you see alfalfa, the queen of the forage plants. So it's very important.
And if we again talk about how to store it, so do you have some tips for our viewers how to store it, how to get it out of the bunker in an optimum way, and how does it look, or how should it look like in the bunker?
Yeah, so we have different types of storage. We have bunkers, like you said. If we have it in bunkers, we have to take it out without a lot of grass is falling down and is lying in front of the silo, for example. Then it starts again to get hot, for example, and then bacteria is working, and then that's not good because we lose energy and we lose the good quality we have done during harvesting, for example. Also, we see some farms, smaller farms, do tubes, for example. Also an alternative for smaller farms, like I said, or also smaller farms use bale systems, equal if it is round bale silage or if it is square bale silage. Important here is to cut the grass as short as possible so that later for mixing, the cows do not have the possibility to sort.
Okay, thanks for now. So I would now like to come to a second component, which is the corn silage. And we also prepared a nice example here to compare. So Walter, it's now up to you to tell us something about it again. So you are the expert.
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you. We see here on the plates, for example, two samples of corn silage. On the left plate, we see on the left plate, we see corn silage, which is harvested with a shredlage system. That means we have longer fiber, but the main thing is the corn itself is very good broken, so that our cows, we better should say the bacteria in the rumen is able to work with this and to get out of this the starch and the good things they need for production. On the right plate, we see conventional harvested corn silage. So also it should be all short. And also the corn is important that this should be broken good. So in some countries, we have rations which are more corn silage in. So we do not have that structure out of grass silage. In that case, something like shredlage would be very, very good.
Okay, and in the background of these two plates, we can also see a nice example how it should look like in the bunker. Maybe you would like to tell us something about the importance of the clean cut surface, which you can also see here and just down there.
Yeah, down there you don't see any loose material. If there is loose material, at once there's oxygen on outside, and then bacteria has optimal possibilities to work. But this should not be here in the silo, in the bunker, for example. All the good stuff should go to the rumen, so that we have all the energy and all the good things we have in our silage later in the rumen of our cows.
Okay, so we would now like to come to a third component, which is hay. So this is another nice example holding in my hands. And now, Walter, it's up to you again. How should we harvest it? Do you have any tips beside the weather conditions to look at? So maybe just tell us some sentence about that.
Yeah, the weather conditions is the main thing. So during the last days, for example, here in Germany, a lot of farms started harvesting their grass silage before it was too cold and too wet. And some also started to produce hay. But for hay, if we do not have a possibility to dry it under the roof, for example, we need, I would say, around 4 days, good weather conditions so that we get the hay dry. But on the other hand, how much hay do we feed if we put it in a ration? It's only, let's say, half a kg or maybe a kg. Also, some farms do put a complete bale somewhere in the barn so that cows can go there and take how much they want. That's a possibility. But hay, okay, it's important. So also I know from some farms, they only feed hay because of special cheese. They have special cheese companies who produce cheese, and these companies say, okay, it's not allowed to get silage for your cows. You have to feed hay. But in that areas, most of the farmers do have a special under roof drying system.
Okay, thanks, Walter. On the farm, you told me something about structured raw fiber components. So, and I would like to go into that again in detail. And this is a third video we prepared for you, which starts right now.
But I do see you brought also some other plates here. So what's the important thing here? Can you explain that to us?
Yes, we have some more feed. So this feed, these 3 plates show structure feed, which also you need in a good ration for cows. At first, we see alfalfa. So in Germany or in other places, some farms buy or produce alfalfa as hay, and it has good structure and is very good for a ration for dairy cows. On the other hand, you can take straw. Straw is nearly on every farm, or you can buy it, but the way how you present it or how you mix it is different. If you see here, the long fiber, it can be problems for the cow. They start selecting. If it is much shorter, like in this, it's easier to handle and you can mix it very good. And at the end, you have less waste than if you take this long fiber.
Okay, thanks a lot, Walter.
Yes, and to compare for comparison, we prepared another image for you where you can see the difference. And maybe Walter, you would like to explain. I know you would like to explain, and you can start right now.
Yeah, thank you. So on Lilian's hand, you can see the straw which is harvested with a bale system. It's cut short, so we have 5 to 7 centimeters or shorter, but it's not the same as in my hands, for example, where this straw is on top, worked with a straw mill, so you have it very short. On the farm where we had been, the farmer uses this straw on my hands, for example, for his ration for the dry cows. And what you see is that there is very, very few waste in this area where he feeds this straw. So in the ration, if we say the cows should eat, let's say 3 kg, you sometimes find, if it is the left side straw, maybe you find a kg on the trough as waste. On the right side, you see maybe a little bit, but not that much. And one thing more, in former lives, we did talk about calf TMR, for example. So the straw on my hands is very good as a component for this dry TMR for calves as the first TMR they get. So we also tested it and it was really good. It smelled really good and it was top.
Yeah, it really does smell good. That's true. I have it in my nose when I think about it. Maybe we have the time to come back to TMR later on. Let's see if we are just in time, and maybe we have some more minutes to talk about that. So now we briefly talked about the basic forage ingredients, and I would like to discuss with you what else can the farmer use. For example, you told me something about grain. So can you tell me which kind of grain they can use also for feeding?
Line, for my opinion, can take every sort of grain. So in this picture is wheat, for example, but also barley or rye is possible to feed to your cows. It depends on what does the farm have by its own. If the farm is able to produce grain, then for my opinion, equal which one. Also, if they are able to produce corn as grain, corn is for me a grain as barley or something like that. So we have more starch, which we can bring into the rations, for example. And this is not only grain. Normally here should be written grain and protein feeds, for example. So on organic farms, for example, they produce beans or they produce pies, or in conventional farms, the farmer buys canola meal or they buy soya for the cows also.
And also, as far as I remember, the rapeseed extraction meal, you also told me something
Canola.
about that. Oh, this is canola. Okay,
Canola. Yeah.
yeah. And I also know from my work with the colleagues at Separation that our brewery customers, they sell their brewer's grain to dairy farms. And I could hold that also in my hands on the farm and smell it, and it was really delicious. And we prepared it, pre-prepared an image here for you, so you can see here on the right side in my hands, this is the brewer's grain. And what else or what other byproducts from food production can they use? And maybe I know you would also like to tell something about the stuff you're holding in your hands here.
Yeah, first let's say some words to brewer's grain, for example. Then brewer's grain is really good because the protein quality is really good, which comes from the breweries. And it's a wet feed. It's a byproduct from food production. And we have a percentage of 22 to 24% dry material. So we have, if we put it in a bunker or if we put it in a tube, for example, we have to pay attention that the quality is really good. Some farms do feed it fresh, but I would say after 3, maximum 4 days, it starts to get alive again, let's say that in that way. So brewer's grain is great, but we have to pay attention how. On my hands, on the small picture, for example, you see sugar beet pulp. Sugar beet pulp is also a very, very good feed for dairy cows. So it's a byproduct from sugar industry, for example. And this, you can buy this during the season where the sugar beet is harvested. That means the end of September, maybe to January, where the companies do produce sugar. But on the other hand, you can buy it fresh, of course. And you can also put it in a bunker or in a tube that you have it completely over the year, for example. And not only this wet component, you also can get it as a dry component. Then it's easier to store, of course.
As a pellet.
As a pellet, or not always as a pellet, but a pellet is the main thing where you can buy it, as you can buy it.
Yeah. And if we talk about any other byproducts, like as far as I remember, apple pomace, you told me, and carrot and potato pulp, right?
Yeah, and potatoes, for example, also. Lilian, that depends on in which area you are. So if you have a company which does produce juice, for example, apple juice, of course, you have the possibility to buy this byproduct, this pulp or apple pulp or how you call it. Also, if you have a company for starch production, for example, so some potato starch or something like that, that's also good stuff. And potatoes, okay, what did we see this year? Because of coronavirus, a lot of farmers could not sell their potatoes to the companies because not the restaurants did not take that many potatoes, or pommes did not, French fries did not be produced in that amount. So some farmers at least sold their potatoes, and also potatoes is like corn, a very good starch component.
Okay. Now I would like to come to another component, which are premixes from feeding companies. So, and here we can see a nice example of that. And maybe, Walter, it's now your turn again. I'm very pleased I have you as an expert, as a passionate expert, which is also one of the comments from our viewers. I know you are very passionate, and I like to see it also here, and that we can also bring it to our viewers. So, but now back to the premixes. What would you like to tell us about
Yeah.
that component?
So premixes is one component which is out of more different components. For example, we have premixes which are produced for the farms, especially for the farms, for example, from your farm. So you talk with your feeding consultant, he knows, okay, the farm has grass silage, the farm has corn silage, they can buy brewer's grain, for example. So what else do they need? Because they have no possibilities to produce their own grain or to produce beans or something like that. So you can give a ration which you want to have as a premix, for example, and tell the company which does produce it for you, okay, we want, let's say, 25% corn, we want to have 25% barley, we want to have 40% canola meal, and then we want to have 5% minerals, and on top possibly yeast or something else. So you can get your individual mix for your farm, for example, as a premix.
And also the minerals, right, which we prepared here. I can remember this was one of the components with the little salt flakes in it. So maybe you would like to tell us a bit more about minerals and specials as a feeding component.
Yeah, minerals is necessary. So also we need some salt, and here we talk also about specials. Specials can be, for example, yeast or something like that. But in minerals, it's salt, so it's lime and things like that. And sometimes some additives for a good taste, for example.
Okay, and now we come also to a very important component, which is liquid feed. And I know you told me it's one of the most important liquid feed is water, but we also do have other kind of liquid feeds. So maybe you could give us some tips about water in general, and maybe tell us a bit more about other liquid feeds.
Yeah, water is the most important, of course. And water also, we see different qualities. So some farms use public water. This is also every year, or they look in laboratories that the quality is really good. But on the other hand, some farms do have their own barn where they take the water out. So it can be sometimes a little bit a problem, because in the past, I had one farm, for example, which had a lot of iron in the water, and then it was a little problem. So he bought a machine which took out the iron out of the water, and then it was okay. But other liquid feeds, for example, we talk about molasses, for example. So it depends on, is it sugar beet molasses or is it cane? That's up to the country or the region where you get it from. And on the other hand, then maybe two more, it's propylene glycol or glycerin, which also some farms offer their special cows in the first, let's say, 50 days or 100 days as a special offer for energy on top.
Okay, so I took a look on my watch, and we see, I mean, we are coming close to the 30 minutes interview, but so I think I know we would like to talk about food rations, but I think we would skip it here because we want to show you also some opportunities with automated feeding systems. Because as we have seen, all these different components are very complex, and you have to keep an eye on all of them. Plus, different rationing keywords are just group feeding, calf TMR that you talked about some minutes ago, Walter. But I would like to come now to the automatic feeding system. And can you tell us something about how does it improve the milk yield, and where can it support the farmer in feeding?
Yeah, so we know out of a lot of farms who use automatic feeding systems that if they feed their cows, let's say 6 or 8 times a day, the same ration, the cows eat more and the cows feel much better. And the quality of the feed which you offer is always the same, because an automatic feeding system does produce it in the way every time the same ration or the same amount of grass, silage, and the other components, for example, so that the cows always get the same. Also, what you told, with an automatic feeding system, we have the possibility that cows get their special meals in special groups. So a lot of farms do have, if they are a little bigger farms, they have fresh cows, they have high lactation cows, they have dry cows in one group or in 2 groups, so far off or close up cows. And all these cows need different or have different needs, what they should be feeded. And you also talked about TMR for cows, for example. These systems are able to produce it and to offer it in different times per day, also during the night, for example. And that makes these systems to be very good for the farmers. So if, for example, if they only feed their cows once a day, they bring out, let's say, 50 to 60 kg fresh matter. In this system, if you put it in 6, 7, 8 times, you have 8 to 10 kg per mix or less. And that makes for the cows a very good meal all over the day.
We prepared some images for you to give you some examples about the different types of automated feeding systems. One of them is the freestall feeder, which you can see here. And we also do have, as you see, the mix and carry. Maybe, Walter, you would like to say something about the different types, but I think this is, as an image is obvious, what is shown here.
Yeah. So we have different types. Also here, mix feeder, for example, or if we get to the next slide, for example, we see a belt feeder where we prepared the food or the ration, and then via belt, we bring it to the cows. Maybe also in this situation, an FR1 is a good thing to push the feed to the cows back again. These are all things you can use on the farm. And what I wanted to try to get your attention, of course, sorry, your attention to the way how you harvest the food and how you can bring it in best conditions to your cows. So if someone is interested to buy an automatic feeding system, he or she should also be in the way how he harvested or she harvested his grass silage and so on to the right way for the system, so that at least you get advantages you have with the system. You don't lose because of the quality in structure or something is not that as you need.
Okay, Walter, thanks a lot for all these, for your expertise and for all the tips you've given us today. I think, with this closing sentence, for all of you who want to optimize your operation, feel free to contact your dealer for advice. And I would like to come now to some of the questions that reached us so far. And I will start with the first question. It is how much percentage of grain can be used in TMR on dry matter basis?
At first, it depends on which lactation stadium your cows are. So if you have high lactation cows, for example, which get, let's say, 24 kg dry matter per day, for me, it is concentrate can be up to 10, maximum 12 kg from the whole ration, for example. It depends a little bit on which type of concentrate you take, because corn is different in the rumen than, for example, barley. The starch is, the bacteria in the rumen does it different.
Okay. A second question from Don from West Africa is, he runs a poultry farm, but he wants to branch into dairy cows to produce fresh milk, which is currently 100% imported. And his question is, where can we get good stock so that can do well in our environment?
So I would say we have colleagues in South Africa. So I know Darren Hutchinson, maybe he's listening now.
Maybe he's watching us, yes.
Of course. And if he doesn't watch, we will give him this question, because he is from there and he knows the circumstances around that. But in general, to produce fresh milk is a good thing. You can make money with that, no question.
Okay, so Don, to answer your question, Darren will come back to you after the live event. We will make sure. Okay, we do have a third question just for your information. If you have any other questions, just comment them in the chat below. And the third question is, are salt licks any benefits with dairy cows in your opinion, Walter?
Yeah, salt is water is water is cheap, very cheap, and salt is the second cheapest thing you can offer your cows. So we offer the cows in minerals also some salt, but at least all the cows should have been possible to get salt in the barn, somewhere in the barn. That's for me. Yeah, okay. It also, when it is hot outside, the cows need more salt, for example. It's like we.
Yeah, it's like the humans.
Yeah.
Next question is, when should you mix with sugarcane molasses?
Sugarcane molasses is a possibility to get your ration a little bit more tasty, for example. If you have wet grass silage, for example, the mix does not, the cows do not like that mix that well. And if you put some molasses on it, that's really good. So you can take 500 milliliters to 1 kg, for example, per cow and day, no problem. So that's a nice thing. On the other hand, I take molasses to the dry TMR for the calves, for example, or you also can use it for dry cows a little bit. You remember the straw we had? If you put a little bit molasses on it, so it tastes better and cows eat more of this.
Okay. We come to the next question. Are molasses blocks beneficial?
Ooh, a good question. I've never seen molasses blocks here in Germany or somewhere where I was in the world. Maybe we can get a picture of that, and I will look for that.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Just come back to us, write us an email to info@geea.com with your image, and Walter will have a look at it and come back to you afterwards. So we do have some more questions, which is really great. So thanks for that. Thanks to all the viewers. The next question is silage roll in milk and meat. Well, I hope you understand it, what this question is in.
Roll.
Silage roll in milk and meat.
Yeah. Okay, we have silage in dairy farms, also in meat production. So if we produce beef, for example, we use much more corn silage. It would be nice to get a little bit more information around this question, and then we can answer it later. That would be nice.
Yeah, maybe I'll just repeat the email.
Yeah.
Just if you have any more questions, we have so much questions, which is so nice, but we are running over the time. So I will take the last questions, and then we would like to come to the end. So Walter, the last question to you is: what kind of gains can you expect with an automated feeding?
Yeah, what kind of gains? Okay, fresh feed, sometimes more over the day, a higher intake. For example, that cows do get. Oh, I know the person who asks. He's from Canada. Hi, Greg. So higher intake and fresh intake, and you can put your special groups with special
Needs.
rations, for example.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, as I announced, I would like to come to an end with our live. If you have any more questions, please contact us via info@gea.com. We will come back to you. We will come back to every question. If you have any questions after the event, you can use the chat section. We will come back. You can contact us via Facebook or via the info@gea.com via email. I would like to thank you for joining us today. And in case you have still questions, as I said, just feel free to contact us. Walter will have a look at all of them, and also for sure our colleagues all around the world. So, and I would like to thank also the GEA team who made it, who realized this live. And remember to like our page. And as you know, this content will be available afterwards. So feel free to tag a friend that for any reason could not join us today. So last words from my side is stay healthy and goodbye. And thanks again, Walter, also for your expertise today.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope our English was good enough for all over the world.
Yeah. Stay healthy. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.